Have you ever gotten really excited about decluttering your house, jumped in with both feet, started making progress, and then very quickly found yourself getting frustrated with your kids for undoing your work or for making a mess in another spot of the house while you were decluttering this spot of the house? Or maybe you cleared a space and you're like, this feels great. And all of a sudden they moved in and started playing there. And it like drove you crazy. And maybe you started being grumpy and maybe you were huffing and puffing and maybe you started nitpicking about all of the ways that they weren't helping you in all sorts of different aspects of life or how they weren't being responsible. Does it sound familiar? I know I've been there. I've talked with many moms who've been there. So if you have been there, you are in good company. And I want to share with you two ideas, two principles today to really encourage you on your own journey of decluttering and some things.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation, and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
Today we are talking about really important principles, but if this is something that is resonating with you, that is helping you, then I want to invite you to head over to survivingtothrivingtoolkit.com and join the waitlist for this incredible program that will guide you step by step through the 5 phases from surviving to thriving, including normalizing, which is where we do our decluttering, and to give you the exact systems and processes you need to be able to thrive in every stage. So yeah, you might not be able to choose your circumstances. Things might be really hard. You might have a newborn, you might be pregnant, you might have all of these crazy things happening in your life, and yet you can still thrive. So join the waitlist at survivingtothrivingtoolkit.com to be the first to know when the doors open again. Let's talk decluttering today because it's something that I've really been focusing on. If you've been watching or listening to the podcast episodes the last few months, you know that 1, I'm pregnant. 2, that we've been in survival mode, off and on during this pregnancy, 6 months in. And that I just had this epiphany that why had I set up a home over the last few years that runs great when my health is great and is not capable of running well if my capacity is lower? That is just not the life that I want to live. That's not the expectation I want to create for myself. And so this very long season of lowered capacity and survival mode. Now, granted, there's been variations. There's been me on the couch not functioning for a while during morning sickness versus me going slower in the second trimester, but still being able to do things. Okay, so it's not been death's door this whole time. But in that I'm, our new normal right now has been such a gift. This survival season has been such a gift because it's really allowed me to get completely honest with myself about how I want to set my life up and to be able to get very clear about what expectations I want for myself and my family and my kids and how I really can set up a home that will serve me and not just give lip service to that. I think I felt like my home served me when I had, 4 kids above preschool age and above, when my health was good, when I could walk normally, when I wasn't pregnant, when I wasn't sick, when nobody caught the flu, things were coming along pretty great. But then survival mode hit and it crashes. And so and not completely crashed because every season that I've been in normalizing, we have set up better systems and routines. So honestly, it hasn't even been that bad this time, but just recognizing the things still did fall apart and why. The house still became overwhelming. Well, why? So here's the deal. Because of that vision of being able to set up a home where survival mode can still be lovely and functioning well, I've realized I've needed to declutter more and more and more and more and more. I just need to reduce what we have in our home. Part of that is also due to the fact that we have literally another person joining our home. We don't have a basement to store things. We don't have a attic to store things. Our garage, anything you put in there is going to get coated with a layer of pollen in Georgia during the month of March. So it better not be too precious. And it's going to be hot. So it can't be, temperature dependent. So basically your storage here is very minimal. And the space that we had our last sleeping 2 and under child had been overtaken by stuff. So the reality is we just have to get rid of things to make room for this new child, which is wonderful and exciting. So, I mean, there is that element to it too. But a few years ago, let me say this. 10 years ago is probably the first time I read, I forget, The Life-Changing Magic. No, what was it called? It's the Marie Kondo book that everyone reads about sparking joy. I forget. But it was one of those first like hard-hitting decluttering book. The same time about Joshua Becker wrote the Minimalist came out, and Joshua Becker wrote like the Minimal Home or Family. Anyway, those decluttering books that came out like a decade ago when all of this minimalism stuff was just really starting to gain steam. I read those and I took our first, couple of trunk loads to Goodwill. I really liked the idea. So this is not a new concept to me. And I would say that there's 4 distinct layers when it comes to decluttering your space, and they all have a lot of value, and I guide you through all of those 4 phases in the Surviving to Thriving toolkit. But where we really started to gain a lot of momentum from the survival season, where I started to see like, oh, yes, I can handle this, was when I applied this principle I learned from Catherine Vogtberg, from her Get It All Done Club. I don't know if she talks about it on her podcast, but having a 2-minute tidy space, meaning there is not more than what you can clean up in 2 minutes in a room. Now, again, I don't know that everyone has to be that aggressive, and that's why there's 4 different layers, and all of them are good and awesome and empowering. But having said that, like we just got my younger 2 kids' rooms into a 2-minute tidy space. So they don't have more than they can clean up in 2 minutes in there. It was like incredible. Magically, they just start in their free time folding and putting their laundry away. They're little. Okay, my youngest is 4 and she's happy to sit and just put away laundry. Why? Because it's the only thing to do in there. I mean, she has toys, she has books, they have things, but I just mean there's nothing else that has to be done. Nothing else has to be really cleaned up. It's not an overwhelming space, so it's easy to do. And I just recently turned Andrew and my space, our bedroom, into another 2-minute tidy space. And lo and behold, yeah, laundry is way easier to put away every day. There's no more need for piles. Why? Because it's just one thing to do in there, to just put it away and then you're done. So it feels really easy to stay on top of things. There's many other benefits. I will go way into the value of it. I've been doing it and talking about it for years in our main living areas. So you've probably heard me talk about it before on the podcast, because it has been incredible in our downstairs living spaces to reduce our inventory to that amount. But we just finally are making it to the bedrooms because I'm determined to do the whole house and we're getting really close to being done. Having said that, so I want to say, is decluttering a great thing? Yes. If you are on that journey, keep going. Does it make a huge difference? Absolutely. Like, I want to confirm that. Why? Well, it's not the end all be all solution, right? I think a lot of times in the minimalism world, especially, but anyone that talks about decluttering, they talk about it as a finish line, but I want to say it's a starting line. Like, it's the pre-work that comes before you're setting up your home systems, before you're setting up your habits, before you're setting up your routines, kind of even before your family culture emerges. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like it's the pre-work. It's the summer homework before the AP class starts, right? Like, it's just the part that comes before. And it's the starting line, not the finish line. Okay. But it's really important and it makes a big difference. So I agree with all that. Now, here's the epiphany that I had recently, though, that refers to and alludes to all of that frustration that I was experiencing, that I've experienced, maybe you've experienced at the starting of this episode, which is, I was reading, follow me here, I promise, it connects. I was reading a book this last week called The House of My Mother. I'm not saying that I recommend this book, okay? But it's the story of Ruby Franke. She was the YouTube channel of 8 Passengers owner. She ran this channel. She's a mom with 6 kids. And it's her oldest daughter that wrote this story because she was arrested for child abuse. Anyway, really sad story, actually. There's a lot that goes into this book. But here's the part that I want you to follow me along with, okay? This one little nugget here, which is their daughter was sharing that when they started out as a YouTubing family living in their normal circumstances. But when they had, started making a lot of revenue and income and had millions of followers, they then bought their next home that was, pretty fancy and nice. And when they moved in there, it became their movie set. It was sterile walls. It was minimalist. The lighting was specifically designed to be good for the camera, not to be cozy and inviting. They weren't allowed to put things on their bedroom walls. Everything had to stay really simple and plain and clean so that it would look good in all of their YouTube videos. It was 90% of their family's income. And I read that and thought, oh, how sad. And do you know what else? Anyone that I've been inspired by and watched things online have been YouTubers, right? Which is incredible, right? Like, I have been so grateful for Dawn the Middle Mom. She's been on this podcast a couple of times. I've had her on the summit. She's a wonderful person, right? And yeah, and like, anyway, she's great. And she films in her home. And there's just no way, no matter how authentic a person you are, and take any long list. There's a long list of YouTubers that show you how to declutter, right? But it was just a really epiphany. Like, there's no way that you do not stage your home in some way before you film a video. There's just no way that it's not there. Whether you want to be authentic or not, it does impact how you film. Why do I only film one little corner of this room for you? Because I only want one little corner of my room to be a film set, right? 99% of my house needs to be a normal house. So this is what you see, because this is what I want to maintain filmable. Okay. So why does this matter? What does this mean for you and me? Well, I don't know about you, but in all of my inspiration getting and then my learning and my motivation, I realize I am comparing done or good enough to a literal film studio. Now, some people are like, well, it's your house. They live in it. Yes, but also Dawn recently said in one of her videos that she literally has an Airbnb that she goes to film her decluttering videos, and she pulls stuff out. She puts it back. It's like literally a film studio for a few hours for her. This is, by the way, is totally fine and wonderful. It's not a problem. However, unless we start thinking that our houses where people are living 24/7, I mean, we're homeschooling here, we work here, we play here, we now have chicks, we got animals here now. We're gardening, we're building, we're creating, exploring, we're hosting. My point here is that when you are comparing your home where people are living all the time to these YouTube sets, these home studios, these stages that people are creating to film their videos where you're getting inspiration, we have a very incongruent comparison trap that we are falling into. We are assigning, like, this is what done looks like, right? To a space that's actually never done because we live here. We are saying that this is the ultimate end goal in a space where it's not, because my end goal here is actually not that we're going to have this be a film set or studio for anyone to enjoy except us, right? Like, that's we have a different end objective. And so there's nothing wrong with it. I'm grateful for it. I've learned so much over the last many, many, many years from everyone that opens their home and shows and teaches principles of decluttering. It's lovely. It's wonderful. And yet it also, I realize, is hurting me in a way. Like, because it has a separate end game. Okay, right? It has a separate end game. So why am I sharing this with you? Because I want you to free yourself from that burden of having your home be a film studio, subconsciously or not, because that's not where you're headed. Probably, I would guess, right? You are going to be living in your home with your people. You are living in your home with your people. You are making amazing memories and life together with your people. I don't even post anything of our family on social media at all. I haven't for a very, very, very long time, and have no intention of ever doing so again. Why? Because it's not needed. It doesn't bring joy. It doesn't reduce my stress. It again, changes the objective, right? We want to make it look good. No, we don't. We want to feel good here. We want to enjoy being here. Now, let me just share an example of like the switch that I've had since this realization, right? We have made tons of progress in our decluttering. I am very excited about it. I will teach you principles in the Surviving to Thriving toolkit. We have simplified these spaces downstairs, and I'd set it up so that it was clear. These are the amount of blankets we have downstairs, and this is the home for those blankets. There's 2, all right? For a family that builds forts and historically could have 10 to 15 blankets downstairs, every blanket we own, plus sheets and all sorts of things, this is a really nice experience, okay? Well, they had dragged blankets into our homeschool room. They had set up the nugget couch. They pulled out all their stuffed animals. They had pulled the pillows off the couch, and they made this cozy, super sized like a nugget couch space. And they had gotten a couple of games out and set up on that couch and in front of the couch. And they spent all Saturday there playing games all day long, like marathons of different board games and card games with each other. Now, previous Jessica, who would be comparing herself to a film studio, would have been so frustrated and stressed and anxious with this idea of, oh my goodness, they pulled out all the stuffed animals and all the blankets and the couch cushions and the everything, right? And even though I may not say it, because I've been letting my kids do things like this the whole time, inside I'm freaking out. My behavior's changing. I'm starting to be grumpier. I'm starting to, have these negative thoughts. Instead, I realized, wow, what an amazing cozy corner. And I even told that to them. Wow, what an amazing cozy corner that you guys have created yourself. How fun that you guys have been able to play here all day. That looks amazing. And so, okay, right? I'm not comparing anything anymore. I'm just grateful my kids have an amazing space to live in, that they saw the things that they had, were able to repurpose them and use them and enjoy them. And I could enjoy my children in that space. And then at the end of the day, I said, hey guys, it's time to clean up. And because they're not overwhelmed, because we have simplified, decluttered, and made it clear what they have access to, they all happily cleaned up before bed, which is also novel. Okay, that's also new. And to be able to have things manageable where they're not overwhelmed. So yes, do I want to encourage you to keep decluttering and to keep simplifying your home? Absolutely. Would I be happy to guide you in that process if you want help? For sure. However, and also, I want you to have the right end game in mind. What does done look like for you? And so instead of having that be, I want my house to look like it came out of a magazine. Think about, how do I want my home to feel? How do I want to feel in my home? How do I want to function in my home? Does it have to look like Pinterest all the time? Does it have to look like it's ready for a camera to come in here all the time? Even most of the time? Even maybe it never, why? What are you thinking? What is the end goal here for you? For me, it's like, if we can do the things and have it flow smoothly and people aren't fighting, and at the end of the day, I can sit down and just feel peace and I don't feel resistance to my habits and my cleaning and my systems. Like, that's a big one. Am I not feeling resistance? Okay, I think we're good. I think we've reached it. Am I still feeling resistance? Am I still feeling the overwhelm? Okay, we need to push it a little bit further. My boundary is going to be different than yours, right? Like, my threshold, totally different than yours. My threshold has to be super low. Why? Because I'm about to have 5 kids in a small house all the time. And we do everything here. So the amount of stuff happening here during the day is massive, and therefore we just need a little bit less access to things so that I can handle all of the activity going on, and they can handle and manage all the activity going on. And we can feel free to spend hours and hours outside and not come inside and have our house be a total disaster, right? If you have kids that are in public school or your kids are little, our scenarios are all going to look different, right? But I think if we can take time to really personalize who we want to be and what threshold is required for us to feel like we can be that person without forcing it, because I have been that person forcing it for many years, that's your done point, as opposed to what you're seeing on screen on YouTube. Okay. So if that helps you, excellent. Please let me know in the comments below YouTube how, what your end goal looks like. Where are you at? Where are you at in that process? Are you closer than you thought you were? Have you already arrived and just needed to remind yourself, I don't have to compare myself or my house to anyone? Or is it something that you're still really working on? I would love to hear, on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review on there and just let me know how it's going for you. So I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I'm excited to talk with you again next week.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.